Alright, yo, what up, what up, what up? Welcome back to the solar system series known as, have you thought about it this way? Where we talk about the most detail-oriented sign in this ecliptic, known as Virgo. Now, since this is the first video we're kicking off in this space and location, let's talk about the sun a little bit, right? So this is Sun in Virgo, Sun in Virgo, Sun in Virgo. Alright, now, talking about the sun. What is the sun? The sun illuminates. The sun is just pure expression. The sun comes from the fifth house, the house of expression. Well, it doesn't come from the fifth house, it's correlated to that, but, details. Anyways, the sun, like, in astrology is the sign that most people know. It's the sign that, if you ask everyone in society, they'll likely tell you their sun sign. It's the sign that, actually gets people to pay attention to you. It's the vehicle of your expression. It's not what gets you to carry out your expressions or actually do anything, but it's the vehicle that you take things through, as well as the opposite, So the sun can be put simply, it's, the vehicle in which you express through, and then it's also what you consciously see from the world. Now, since this is Sun in Virgo, let's go through Virgo a little bit. Trust me, there's details to this one. Anyways, so Virgo comes from the sixth house. The sixth house is basically categorized as the work process. And to get a better view of how these houses operate, you can look at the three earth houses as a trine, and you can look at them as continuously building steps to whichever way you come from. They can come from the outside, which is the top down, which would be 10th house all the way to the second house. It can be second house moving up all the way to the 10th house, and it can come out from the middle, depending on, where your sun's placed, where you decide to start from, because, your chart's your chart. You can use it as a bitch, it's just depending on your level of awareness, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, talking about the sixth house a little bit, like I said, it's the work process, and to get a better understanding, you have to understand where you normally start from, which is the second house. The second house is basically your value systems, and you can look at it as the I statement of I have this. This is what I value. This is what I have to work with to move me on to the next step, which is the in-between houses. But since we're talking about the earth house specifically, the next step would be the work process, which is where Virgo is born from, which is why it gets that sort of perfectionist standpoint, because the overarching influence positions it to always exist in the work process. You feel what I'm saying? Now, after you go through the work process, you can obviously move on up to the 10th house, which is what you're known for. But, that's another video. We're going to get into that at a later date. We're talking about Virgo right now. So, what else goes into Virgo? Virgo it's ruled by Mercury. It is away or at work in Jupiter. And it is also away in Neptune, but it falls in Venus. This is a very important aspect because it's in the category of lackluster Venus signs, but we'll get into that a little later. Virgo is also known for being the mutable Earth sign, which can be taken as, it's like, since it's, it's the feminine side of the planet that Gemini is ruled with, which is Mercury. You can look at it as if Geminis were focused on, it's like if Gemini were only focused on practical things and what's actually going on with Earth. You know what I'm saying? And that's why you can also say that it's sort of like the Earth version of Sagittarius or Pisces. However, those both deal with the planet that it's opposed. So Gemini is a more likely fit because it's categorized as the thinker signs on top of being in the same house. I mean, not the same house, the same planet as, they're ruled by the same planet, which is Mercury. You know what I'm saying? This is where both these signs, define to be, it's where they find themselves at home. It's where they find themselves cool, calm, comfortable, or if they feel the need to work, so they can. You know what I'm saying? So, with all that in mind, another thing that I'd like to that really, this sort of spoke to me when I was studying Virgo and how to look at it, because Virgo is, it's depicted as the Virgin, right? And, the signs that they're depicted as, they can come from the shape of the constellation. But, the shape of the constellation is sort of like the story it tells. It depicts the influence that it has. You know what I'm saying? So, Virgo being the Virgin, what can we glean from this? With this being the Virgin, the concept is basically immaculate conception. And now the visualization of where I like to point out where people get fucked up is the old Homer Simpson phrase of a pregnant virgin. This is a man's worst nightmare. It's not that. It goes way deeper than that. This is an energetic study, so we're talking about energetic influences. So it's a lot more broad, and it can fit, since it's so broad, it can fit into a lot of specific instances, but it's energy, man. It's lighter in form. It's not as direct. It can't be so specific because therefore it would be heavy, planned out, very specific, not movable. It can't influence and act like a fluid the way it wants to, which is why you can't just belittle it to such a basic detail and have it just be, fitted and understood so properly. It's like a Virgo and why they're so perfectionist. Unless you know these alignments, you won't have any answers or guesses. You may have a guesses for why that specific person does this, this, and this, but you can't depict why it is, Anyways, my point is that with these signs being that of immaculate conception, and they're basically placed in that, this adds into why they're perfectionists too. Because the concept of immaculate conception goes a lot deeper than what I said. A pregnant virgin, this basically goes to the depth of that, like anything, Virgos are on the mission of being able to create things without any outside influences, which is why they're so anal, so analytic, and focused on so many details of the situation, because they won't want to rely on anybody, man. You can look at this like a single mom in some type of way, I like to use the single mom type of thing, because it breaks down, the stresses that these Virgos naturally feel, despite the actual physical situation of being in a single mom type of deal. It just breaks down the whole, it just breaks down their whole vibe in a sense. They're always stressed out over this. This isn't right. This has to be okay. This has to be okay. This has to be okay. They just take on these freaking single mom type of vibes, when in reality it's yeah, you are on your own, but it is by your own design from the influence that you've decided to take on in this lifetime. You know what I'm saying? Freaking sun sign Virgo people, man, they take this this aspect of themselves is placed in what they consciously see from the world, along with how they express themselves. You know what I'm saying? So the whole time, nonstop, they just have their freaking, their freaking goggles on analytics at all time. They're just like, vroom, 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 vroom. What is this? Why is that? How can I utilize this for my own situation? Is this the degree, the specification that I actually want it to be at? If not, oh my god, why is it not this? Why is it not? And then it'll be like this. And they'll do a whole entire 360, breaking down every possible way that this doesn't work and going through the process of fixing it, tweaking it, and seeing, how they can make this, ready for launch in some situation, while completely neglecting that, everything doesn't have to be perfect. You know what I'm saying? This is where that sort of version representation, if you actually go to the full depth of what it means, comes into play. Because they're going to feel their baby isn't ready. Their baby isn't ready to fly the coop. Their baby doesn't have the necessary tool it needs to go through the job properly, when without being able to get some scrapes, bruises, or get criticized in some way. Not saying that they mind criticism, but, the goal is always to get it to the point where it doesn't have to have criticism. And they'll never get there because it's along the way with them building whatever they're trying to work towards, because it could be anything, man. Virgos are mutable. They're adaptable and changeable to different ways of thinking and practicality. That's what mutable earth means. It means they can, think and focus on things from so many different directions that as they grow and work towards and actually grow their own abilities through the process of creating what they want to create, they grow their own skills at the same time, because they're always working towards the next thing, always working towards the next thing. So they're the type of person to freaking neglect to have to realize that they are, able to just, that they, they don't realize how far they've actually grown. You feel what I'm saying? It really goes deep like that. They're so focused on the work process that they neglect the work that they actually did on themselves. And that's where it gets weird. Because, that's where the perfectionism kind of comes into play, and it's just oh, they really have no idea how far they come. Virgos are always in the fucking, especially sometimes Virgos, they're always in the situation of being just looking at the next thing. And then, since it's their expression, they'll come at you with that, so it's just they never sort of leave this space. It's just to varying degrees, sometimes they'll feel good about what they have accomplished, sometimes they won't. It's just it gets crazy. It really depends on what their work process is. Say they're a freaking plumber, right? And they just decide to make their house entirely out of pipes. I know this isn't practical, so they wouldn't actually do this, but, I got my camera faced at me and I'm looking at pipes right now, and so are you, pipes. You know, say their house was entirely made out of pipes, right? You know, a sun sign Virgo person would probably go through many different sewage situations. They would have it connected to the system, and maybe if the system was fucked up and they were like, oh, this water treatment plant, I don't even trust it. You know, they're putting freaking, what's that called? I don't want to say, what's the technical term for miracle mineral supplement? You know, this has taken the quote-unquote consciousness community by storm, thinking that industrial bleach is actually good for them, which obviously isn't the case. You don't even need to be, like outside of the whole debate of the consciousness community and subconscious community and all this shit, like, straight up, man, like, you can believe that you can program industrial bleach, like, to be healthy all you want, but freaking pick your poison is not the case, you know what I'm saying? Like, but aside from that, say they were like, but the point being is that, like, say if they were like, oh, you know, this water treatment plant was like, you know, we're using freaking chlorine dioxide to clean our water slightly so we can get all this stuff out of it, you know, the freaking sun sign Virgo person, they would look at that and be like, oh, that's unhealthy, and then this would like set them on a whole freaking tangent of going into a situation where it's just like, oh my god, I gotta learn about chemistry, I gotta learn about what the specific molecule does, what if it's in a different spin state, what if it does this, what if it does that, what if they're putting all this other stuff into the water, and then they'll just go on a whole freaking situation of learning chemistry while they completely neglect the factor. I guess maybe they would plan out the steps of, you know, like focusing on a freaking, you know, focusing on like actually them creating their own septic system and creating their own well water. But, you know, like, they would never feel that this situation was okay, because it would lead them down the road of, like, it would just lead them down the road of freaking, just going deep into so many different variables that they don't have to. And this is, like, sort of where the trine from, like, I don't know, it's like, to me, I'm like, with this example, it kind of illuminates the trine of them having, them angling Sagittarius, along with them having a sextile with Scorpio in a way. So combining this is like, they have the gift of seeing many things from a freaking, like, what's the word? Damn it, can't fucking think of the word. They have the gift of seeing many things from a deep philosophical perspective. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, but it's not practical for what they want to accomplish, right? Because with the whole water treatment example I just made, you know, they would have to go through, they would touch on chemistry, they would touch on, you know, like, freaking plumbing, they would touch on, you know, like, freaking construction, because they would either have to build a well and also create their own septic tank if they so chose, and they would just go deep into many different freaking, like, just thoughts and concepts and physical, like, areas of study that they would feel the need to understand, you know? And that's where it's just like, fuck, man, that's why they get so stressed out, because they want to know how to do everything on their own, and then they realize that, like, oh, okay, if I feel that this is so immediate, and I have to know all of these things, and actually have to take all of these things upon myself, you're going to feel like you have the weight of the world on you, you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes Virgo people don't realize what they're getting into sometimes. And I know they have thinking and practicality in it, but they also are angling the work process in general. So it's just like, which one are you going to choose? They're bouncing between the practicality of it, they're bouncing between wanting to be in the work process and wanting to perfect their own situation, you know what I'm saying? And then you also have to remember that, like, you know, if somebody's, like, coming at them while they're in a whole situation of, oh, you know, like, they're just, like, spouting off their whole dreams of how they could actually follow through in this, and how they could just create use their imagination to create this, you know, a sun sign Virgo person would feel like, oh, fuck this, you know, 1,000 times over, because it's just like, they don't want to hear that. Thinking about dreams and coming up with imagination is work to them. Like, they don't want to hear none of that. And on top of just, you know, letting their mind loose and out of this, like, earthly realm of thinking of that stuff being work to them, they're also just, like, listening to this person and actually having to go through work of relating to this person. That's just, like they'll completely gloss over the fact that this person is trying to help them. They will completely gloss over to the fact that they should appreciate this person's ideas, because they may be giving them the tools that they need to accomplish what they want, because they're so focused at what's going on here that they don't necessarily think outside the box. People in sun sign Virgo people are the most, I don't want to say, like, in the box thinkers, even though that is what it is, but it's just like, they're the best in the box thinkers, you know what I'm saying? Like, they will touch every single aspect of, like, the so-called box, you know? They will know every single aspect of, like, what is presented to them, because they'll eventually get into a situation where that's going to make them want to study 1,000 different subjects so they can do this on their own, you know? Because the world isn't just one subject. You can't go to college and get a singular degree and just be like, oh, okay, this is, you know, this will help me handle my tasks and do everything I want to do, you know? Sun sign Virgo people know the most that on top of, like, you know, needing a degree to do a certain job, there's a whole different layer of on-the-job learning that they know is going to be where they learn the most, even though that they recognize that, you know, getting a degree or getting some type of technical training is a necessary step to get to where they want to go. You know, they may think about it as like, you know, whether, I mean, they could go a lot of different ways with that, because they may think about it as like, oh, you know, this job is freaking, this technical training is necessary and it will teach me what I need to know. However, they may also come across the practical aspect of like, oh, this is just how the structure of our society works, and this is the necessary step to get me to where I want to go, you know? They'll think about it from both aspects, you know, like I said, mutable earth. They'll think about everything in the box from, you know, they'll just, like, I don't know what to say other than that, man. I thought I had something else, but I guess it didn't, you know? But yeah, man, I don't know. There's so much to say about Sun sign Virgo. It goes so fucking deep, you know? But, like, let's talk about the, you know, the fallen Venus that touches on the archetype of a Sun sign Virgo person, you know? Like, so, with them being able to see things from such a freaking practical perspective and just seeing things from just, you know, a thought-provoking perspective of what's necessary for them in the specific moment of their work process, you know? So, like, say if someone just wants to come up and to relate to them, like, they will be very cut, cold, and dry and be like, why are you talking to me? Why are you coming up to me right now? This isn't necessary for helping me in my conference call. And they may not necessarily say that to a person. They may articulate it a little more caringly, but that's how they'll feel on the inside. You know what I'm saying? Like, they'll be like, why are you here? What are you doing? And it's not coming from a place of them being like, you know, fuck you, how dare you come up to me during my conference call? It's coming from a place of, this doesn't benefit me from my current situation. Why is this person talking to me? And it's like a genuine question that they ask, to where it's like, why? You know? And it's not like a meaningful, like, why? It's like a, you know, like, if you don't have anything to offer me to benefit this situation, like, you're not just like, hey, you know, I wanted to work on this whole piping system. I wanted to do this, and this. You know, if you're not coming at me with any type of funding or any type of blueprint of how I could get to where I want to go, what value do you have for me? And this is all coming from a place of, you know, Virgo just being asleep in Venus, to where it's just like, oh, I can't even deal with this area of life. Why do you exist to begin with? You know? And it's just like anytime a planet falls anytime a planet falls in a sign. It's just like, I can't deal with this area of life or this aspect of life. I'm going to sleep. Wake me up when September ends. Aha. You know? Like, it's just, shit like that, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, another thing that freaking, well, oh man, I even talked about their thinking, you know, from a Mercury perspective. But yeah, you know, anytime, like, so with Mercury being the feminine side, I mean, with Virgo being the feminine side to Mercury, this is where Mercury is like, it's at home here, but it's a lot different from Gemini, where it's not like them actually wanting to conversate and express about thoughts. Since it's the feminine side, this is, you know, Mercury receiving a bunch of thoughts. So how does this play out through Sun sign Virgo, right? Sun sign Virgo people, it's just like the situation where I was talking about with the pipes. You feel what I'm saying? Like, they were like, okay, this is what I want to do. These are the steps that will get me to where I want to go. This is what I have to know to do all of this on my own. Now I have to properly place myself in these different spaces so I can receive these thoughts and actually do what I want to do to get to where I want to go. You know, this is how Mercury plays out through Virgo, and how Sun sign Virgo people kind of, you know, it's like, it's a gift and a curse. You know, there's a you know, like, you know, everything costs something, and there's a gift and a curse to everything, you know what I'm saying? Except in here, the you know, the gift and the curse are way more apparent and polarizing. Because, freaking, oh my god, Sun sign Virgo people, I just, It's like, oh, fucking Virgos, man. This just, they stress me the fuck out. Straight up, man. Straight the fuck up. But it's my North Node, so I gotta go to it, and it's supposed to be uncomfortable, you know, spiritual advancement. Ugh. But yeah, talking about the whole freaking Sun and Mercury thing, it's just, oh, man. You know what? Fuck. I'm gonna just cut it, man. I was on a point, I was talking good, but I'm going on for 20 minutes. This is way too much, you know what I'm saying? So let's break down these fucking the basic alignments to it, right? You know, Sun and Virgo. The Sun is what you consciously see from the world, and as well as how you express yourself. You know, it's the vehicle you express yourself through. It's not the actions you take, but it's the vehicle you go through to you know, show yourself actually walking through these situations in life. It's your expression. It's not what motivates you to actually act on anything. It's just the vehicle you act through. So, with that being said, having it through Virgo, Virgo is born from the 6th house. It's mutable earth, which you being adaptable and changeable to different ways of thinking and communication. So it's the practical thinker. And it is ruled by Mercury. It is away in Jupiter. It's also away in Neptune. And then it falls hard in Venus. You know, anyways, thanks for watching the solar system series of Have You Thought About It This Way? Where we talk about the most detail-oriented sign in this ecliptic known as Virgo. Peace.